Okay. This piece is, it's interesting because I started writing, the first poet that I discovered was Robert Frost, because someone noticed that I wrote poems and gave me this book when I was about 12 years old. And I didn't discover any of, actually, that people of color wrote poetry until I was in my teens. And it wasn't Latino or Latina poets that I discovered, but it was black women. It was Ntozake Shange and Gwendolyn Brooks and Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, and Jane Cortez. And it's interesting because I've had this experience a couple of times. It's a reoccurring experience of being interviewed by a Latino publication and being asked the question, who are your influences, or who were your first influences, and answering the question. And then, of course, sharing that later on it was Pedro Pietri, Santa Maria Esteves, and writers like that. And to see that they would always omit all of the black women writers that I had mentioned in the interview. And after it happened, the third time, I thought, what is this? Is there a conspiracy going on? What is this about? So it became very clear, of course, to me what it was about. And making my own blackness and my own experience invisible, So I've always wanted to write a poem for these women, especially Ntozake Shange, who wrote, as I'm sure you all know, for color girls who considered suicide, When the Rainbow Is Enough, and how much that inspired me. And it was on a list of poems to write about, things, and I finally wrote it, and it's called Love Poem for Ntozake and Me. Because of you, I believe in sisterhood and soulful sunshine translated into song, accidental genius and rainbow rivers like the river that led me to you. Dreams come true, true love on wings of poetry, roaring African savanna lions lying peacefully with the once hunted, beasts dancing gracefully with the once haunted. Because of you, I believe in the peace found in healing, the healing that can only be found in experience, translated into words, translated into shared testimony, translated into bonds of true connection. And because I am one of those color girls who survived inescapable rites of passage, which compelled me to consider suicide, to them by God's mercy and grace, discover the you.
Say that instead of me inventing it out of the top of my head, I have a little statement here about Joe that I'd like to read. It doesn't cover everything that Joe has done, but it covers some of it, and maybe you don't even know some of this. So I'd like to just read a very short passage about Joe Bataan by way of introducing him to the stage so that he can say a few things and sing us a few of his beautiful songs. Here's what it says about Joe Bataan. No recording artist has more impeccable street credentials than Joe Bataan, the originator of the New York Latin soul style that paralleled Latin boogaloo and anticipated disco. His musical experience began with street corner doo-wop in the 1950s and came to include one of the first rap records to hit the charts, 1979's Rapo Clapo. In between these milestones, he recorded classic albums like St. Latin's Day Massacre, a perennial favorite in the salsa market, Sal Soul, which gave the record label its name and helped spark the national explosion of urban dance music, and Afro-Filipino, which included one of the very earliest New York disco hits, an instrumental version of Gil Scott-Heron's The Bottle. Born Peter Nitoyano of African-American Filipino parents, Joe Bataan grew up in Spanish Harlem, where he ran with Puerto Rican gangs and absorbed R&B, Afro-Cuban and Afro-Rican musical influences. His music career followed a pair of stints in Coxsackie State Prison. Self-taught on the piano, he organized his first band in 1965 and scored his first recording success in 1967 with Gypsy Woman on Fania Records. The tune was a hit with the New York Latin market despite the English lyrics sung by Joe, and exemplified the nascent Latin soul sound. So here he is, Mr. Sal Soul, Joe Bataan. When I get a man, I want to look like that guy.
because he dresses cool. And so I took my influences from a lot of people. Frankie Lyman. As a teenager, he was our idol because he was the first boy that sang and we didn't know if he was a girl or a boy because his voice was so high. Why the fools fall in love? And then, of course, there was Nat King Cole, Judy Garland, you name them. Many of the others came later on. And so I took a little bit from everybody. And all too soon I found out, well, gee, Joe Bataan, you're not such a great singer. But you know what? I got a doctor's degree in streetology. Because most of what I learned in the streets. And like one person said one time, Joe is the street troubadour. So I'd like to say to you, we would walk down the streets, holding hands in wonderland. You were my girl, and I your man. I would give you the world and make you my girl. In the good old days when we were young and having fun. So if you put your hands together, I'll take you on a trip to Latin's Wonderland. Let's get it. So